Hey, what's up? So, in today's video, I'm going to be talking to everybody about the ego. This has kind of been on the list for a very long time. People have been waiting. Sorry about that. People have been waiting to ask me or learn about the ego. So, what exactly is the ego and what is going on with it? So, in plain terms, the ego is your own unique self-expression. Ego represents individuality. And we need the ego to a certain extent. We need the ego. The ego is very important because the ego represents self expression, it represents individualism, it represents uniqueness. This is the reason why Aquarius is the exact opposite of Leo. Leo representing the ego, and Aquarius representing the uniqueness that stems from the ego, right? They are exact opposites of that. So the ego is what makes the ego so dysfunctional is when people inflate their ego. That's where things can get out of control because the ego is meant to the ego is meant to survive. It's literally the source of your survival instinct, right? So survival is based upon if you can eat, if you can sleep, if you have a safe place to stay, if you can breathe, if you can drink some good water, right? Clean water. Um, I'm missing anything, and and that type of thing. So it's the ability to survive, but where the uniqueness comes from, the uniqueness, right? The uniqueness, okay, comes from the ability to do those things for yourself, and if you can do those types of things for yourself well, meaning can you provide for yourself, right? Or afford to live, and can you do that well? But where a lot of, like I said, an example of this where a lot of people end up getting twisted or getting caught up is when they inflate their ego and there's no kind of tool or pride that backs that up. And what I mean by that is an inflated sense of self ego creates an inflated sense of self worth. And once you have an inflated sense of self worth, now you're in trouble. Now you're in serious trouble. Because this is why a lot of the relationships today are so exploitative. It's because you have a lot of people who who are out here who have the mentality of, oh, well, you should do this for me and you should do that for me, because they have all of this sense of self-worth. They think that their presence is automatically bringing favor and some sort of favor or an advantage to somebody else. But that advantage and that favor only can be created, right? Leo, it can only be created from the fires of ego, right? Or from the fires of Leo with productivity, meaning that you have to produce something in order for you to actually bring favor to people, something that they use, something that they actually want in their life. Value, right? Value. That's what all of the zodiac signs represent, but more so the zodiac signs that shine the deepest light on that is Taurus, because Taurus deals with nutritional value. Cancer, because Cancer crabs deals with emotional value. Leo, because Leo deals with the confidence and the confidence and the desire, right? And the pride that gets built up, right, over the course of time. Virgo, which is the realization of self-importance, because when you don't think of yourself as being important, or you think of yourself as trash, then you'll let people treat you like trash. So Leo represents the ego that is projected outwardly. So it represents in the lower aspect of it, right? In the lower aspect of it, Leo represents the ego that is projected outward from a person in the lower sense, where they're trying too hard to get other people to think that they're fly and they're this and they're that. Now, I'm not saying that there's higher levels of that of Leo, because the higher level of Leo is Leo can be very creative. If you ever paid attention to Leos, some famous Leos is Jennifer Lawrence, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, Triple H from WWE. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Leos, the list goes on and on and on. Arnold Schwarzenegger, on and on and on and on and on. So Dana White from the UFC, he's a Leo. So um, Jennifer Lopez. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Ben Affleck, on and on and on and on and on. So with that being said, the higher aspect of Leo, the ego, would be internalized, meaning that quiet confidence. But there's a caveat to that. Quiet confidence is in the house of Virgo. Quiet confidence is the house of Virgo, is in the sixth house, which is in the house or the wheelhouse of Virgo. So, so when it comes to ego and uniqueness, the objective is for you to get in touch with your triggers and get in touch with the things that get you upset and get you off your own game, get you off of your own agenda for your life, that gets you caught off of your own agenda for what you want to get accomplished in your life. This is why it is I talk about time so much and the importance of time, because it's the idea that you only have a certain amount of years or however amount of time to live before you're done. People out here wasting your time and BSing, those are the people who you should never really want to be around. Don't hate them, but of course not. But those are the people that you should never really want to be around. Why? Because they are effectively wasting that inexhaustible, that renewable thing or substance that you can never get back, which is time. Once you leave this body, even if you reincarnate, you'll never actually have this body that you did before, even if you reincarnate. You'll have a different body if you get down in that type of school of thought. So people who waste time, they think of themselves as or trying to put themselves on a level or on a position, a spiritual position where they're trying to put themselves in a perspective where they are the cornerstone, and they are not a pillar or a cornerstone. They are not a foundational piece. They're wasting people's time, which is considered the real evil in the universe, because you're trying to manipulate and control and tamper with people's free will, which means you've got a butt kicking coming, because that's one of the rules. You're not supposed to do that in any shape, form, or fashion. Everybody is supposed to learn at their own pace. This is why it is that when some people would try to call me to do spell work on a particular partner to get those people to be in love with them, I used to always ask them, does this person want to be with you in the first place? And when they used to say no, I used to tell them that I'm not doing it, because you're asking me to tamper with a substance or something called free will. Can't do it, because then it always ends up wrong, because free will is as free will does. And that's another element of the ego, because the ego goes through different phases. When the ego is minimized, when the ego is minimized and you have a basic understanding of, how to live, how to live, right? Meaning that you know how to survive. That's when the real you that stems from the ego, that becomes separate from the ego, happens. Meaning that it comes from the ego, but it's not considered a part of the ego anymore. It's not a part of the ego. it stems forth from the ego, but it becomes its own separate entity, which is the real you. Because the ego, like I keep saying, is only responsible for your survival and nothing else. That's it. It doesn't have any kind of dominion over your decision-making process. This is the reason why it is that emotionalism, extreme emotions, and for instance, like extreme emotions, like you not wanting to be, like a person doesn't want to be in a relationship with you, and you're trying to do things to get revenge on them. It's not up to you to get revenge. Because why? Because that's your own ego rearing its ugly head. You think that you're in danger, and the reality of it is you're actually not in danger at all. Because when you really look at it, what a part about you is actually in danger? Is someone coming to hurt you? Is someone, trying to put out some sort of hit? And I hope YouTube don't hit me for this, but I'm just, telling it like it is. Is someone trying to put a hit out on your life? No. So what is in danger? Problem is your ego got you caught up. Your ego got you out here in a situation where you don't really know how to get over that ego of yours, because you're hurt because of the fact that you and this person didn't work out. But your ego needs to be minimized for you to get to the real you. And the real you, because there's two yous. There's the real you, and then there's the ego you. The ego you is what most people consider the devil to be. The real you is what most people consider the divine or divinity to be. Because the real you, right? In Kabbalah, there's a such thing called Kether, which represents formlessness, which is what is considered the divine, right? And then there's beyond even that. But and then there's Malkuth, and Malkuth is considered the kingdom, or the lowest part, which is where you get the adversarial forces, if you catch my drift, coming from the lowest part, the subterranean. And that's what it represents. It represents the ego versus the real you. See, and this is what the abyss in Kabbalah, the clip off, and these magical systems represent. It represents the tearing down, the chipping away of the ego, to minimize it as much as possible, so that you can actually cross through. Those people where their ego is too inflated, they can't. Their ego literally causes them. It puts them into a mental breakdown. They suffer a mental break with reality because their ego is too involved. It's the idea that, things, you wanted things to work out your way. Yeah, but it didn't. It didn't. I wish that a lot of, I wish, I wished that I still had some people in my life. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it wasn't going to pan out like that. It wasn't supposed to pan out like that, because if it was supposed to, they would have still been in my life today. But I had to learn to let them go. Why? Because when they were in my life, they would make things more difficult. So let's take a look at the whole Will Smith situation to give you an example of the ego, so we can get up on out of here. They're both egocentric. They both have problems with their ego. Their ego is inflated. It's huge, both of them. Because with Jada Pinkett, if Jada Pinkett didn't necessarily want to be in a relationship with Will Smith, then just leave. Then just divorce the person and just leave, and just tell Will Smith this blatantly. Look, I don't want to be with you. We can still take care of what we have got together, but I don't want to be with you. So she's all offended when she thinks that Will Smith is trying to stop her, because she's come up with this story, this illusion that the ego projected in her mind, that Will Smith is trying to stop her from living her best life and enjoying herself, when that's not even necessarily really the case. And the situation with Will Smith is, Will Smith is caught up in his ego too, because Will Smith still hasn't learned to accept Jada Pinkett for who she is and learn to either accept the fact that this is what it is that she wants to be, she chooses to be like this, and to either let her go or lay down and accept this is who she is and let Jada Pinkett do all the stuff that she's trying to do. Because he in his own illusion, things would be easier if she just realized that he loved her and he really does want to, he really does put in effort to be with her. But what he's misunderstanding about it is because of his huge ego is he doesn't seem to understand if you really love Jada Pinkett Smith, you would love her enough to make her own mistakes as well as her own good decisions. So if this is a mistake where she doesn't want to be with you, if this happens to be a mistake that she is making, you should respect the fact that she is growing on her own enough or not growing enough for you to actually be able to let her fly away, dude. And the fact that you keep trying to keep her here, it is smothering her. And that's part of the reason why she's doing, or part of the reason, I'm not saying the whole reason, but she's picking up the roasting and the ante when it comes to causing you pain. Is because you haven't figured out yet that you need to let go. You are either going to accept, okay, this woman is going to do this, and I'm just going to lay down and accept it and accept whatever comes to me that she gives me. Or if you know you don't like it, you need to learn to let her go because her free will, she's exercising her free will, and what she is exercised is she doesn't want to be with you, dude. So what are you going to do after that? You're not going to tell her what to do, bro. You're not. So the fact that you keep trying to hold her here is going to make it worse for the both of you, really, both of you. And then with Jada Pinkett needs to learn that Will Smith is not capping. He really does love her, but at the same time, she wants to make herself look like the hero or the hero of the story and look like the good person because the two of them had irreconcilable differences and she was just on a higher level type thing. So both of them have inflated ego issues. What a person who is more in control of their own ego would do, or they're managing it, is that in Will Smith's part, he would try to keep the relationship intact. And if he realized that the relationship uh, isn't a possibility where the other person isn't trying to keep it intact, Will Smith or anyone in general would allow the person to leave and give them a divorce and allow them to leave and say, listen, I can't hold you here because you don't want to be here. I love you so much. I love you enough to let you go and let you learn. And in Jada Pinkett Smith's part, if a person was more in management of their own ego, Jada Pinkett would stop trying to be the hero all the time in a story because there's a hero complex, and people who have huge hero complexes where they're constantly the need to be the good guy, huge inflated egos too. And there's other things to that. There's other mysteries to that that I'm not going to divulge or make you privy to in this video. That's another video for another day. But the hero complex that said Jada Pinkett Smith is caught up in, it's the idea that you need to come to grips with the reality that people don't, or we already don't look at you like being the hero because you doing too much. So if you know that you don't want to be in a relationship with this person, ask for the divorce straight out and set that person free and rip the band-aid off.